The sound of water, but not the sea. This is the river. Is it the Kennet and Avon Canal, Neil? Yes, it is. Oh, mine and Barney's and I's and Barney's favouriteest place to go walking. He's not been too well of late. Well, he's been okay, but his legs. He had a bit of lameness in his front near side paw, to mix some metaphors with the driving world. But he seems okay, actually, so we're going for a gentle amble, and his amble is my photo walk.
So that was, my introduction to the English racing scene, really. I'd already, been to quite a few of the race courses. I love my racing with Dad training the horses. It was my ambition from 4 or 5. I was riding a pony, and I always wanted to be a jockey. So Dad had a retired racehorse that I could sit on age 9 or 10.
That's former international jockey and now explorer and photographer Richard Dunwoody. I actually think the title of today's show, If You Fall, Get Back on That Horse, which isn't very photographic, I'll give you that, could be a good metaphor for those tougher times, though, in photography, when you think your mojo may have, get this, fallen at the first. It's a reminder for the moments we all face when creativity takes a bit of a stumble, when the pictures don't seem to be coming, when the confidence wobbles, when the thing we love feels just a little out of reach. One of our reflections on the Patreon Extra Mile channel was all about that. Actually, I think it was yesterday's. Was it yesterday's? Thursday's, I think it was. Anyway, we're back with a mailbag this week. Although it's a tight week in terms of stuff planned and guests, so much is on the show because Valerie Jardin is here for Teach Me Street. A two-parter today from your questions about photographing on the street in a candid fashion and the pictures that you've sent in for some review. And the former champion jockey Richard Dunwoody joins me for a chat about how photography has played a part in his life post-riding. And, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask him some questions too about his sport, about all those years successfully in the saddle. Richard was a 3 times champion jockey in the UK, a regular face on TV. Here, anyway. He won 2 Grand Nationals, a Cheltenham Gold Cup on the legendary Desert Orchid, and he helped define jump racing in Britain and Ireland during one of its most competitive times, I would say. That's only chapter 1. When he stepped out of the weighing room, he didn't exactly retire to the sofa. Long-distance endurance rides in South America, challenges that pushed him across continents, and now, with a camera in hand sometimes, chasing stories in places that are far, far removed from the grandstands and bookies. Go on, pups, this way. Somebody's dawdling. So in the first half of our chat coming up soon, we talk photography and adventure and how he ended up being a judge, actually, for the Travel Photographer of the Year competition. And then, I can't ignore the saddle because I wanted to understand more about the focus and the competition of being a renowned international jockey and what it feels like when the noise finally stops. So much to talk about today on this show, along with your super letters.
Today on the Photo Walk.
It was my ambition from 4 or 5. I was riding a pony and I always wanted to be a jockey. Basically, every day of the school holidays, I was sat on a racehorse. There was one night we crossed over in a town called Newry, very close to the border. It looked as if the whole place had been set on fire. Yeah. And I think my mother, come sort of the spring of 72, had enough. But you're trying to get the horse fully extending to make it appear its best. So you want its leading leg as far extended as you possibly can. 10 years on, as I should be, I feel I'm taking better images now. That's been something I've really enjoyed, traveling a lot to Central Asia. The various stands.
That's Richard Dunwoody, my guest on the Photo Walk show today. Alongside him will be Valerie, of course, and I'll be sharing some of your letters too, stories and thoughts that you've sent in about life behind the lens and your adventures with the camera as we walk together. It's a show shaped by you as much as my wonderful guests, which is what makes this time together each week feel so very personal. I'll peek into the mailbag in a moment, talking to personal, just to see what's coming up. But before that, thank you to our Patreon members, our extra milers on the show, as you're known, because your belief in this show and your desire to keep us walking together week after week is the very why of this podcast, and also the how. Every week there's an extra show available through Patreon, which has the last part of reflections for the week, and this week a bit more of a travel log in some respects. Thank you also to my sponsor, arthelper.ai. They help you to sell your photos online by making the posts and the mock-ups and the marketing emails for you. So if you've ever thought, look, I've got some stuff that I'm quite pleased with, some landscape stuff, I'd like to sell it perhaps, but I haven't a clue how to start, how to write, how to do the pitching. Well, arthelper.ai does the tricky bit for you there, and you can get 30 days free with the code PHOTOWALK when you go to arthelper.ai. Now, there's a lot going on at Art Helper HQ of late. Some new bells and whistles to help your work be more discoverable online, which in turn can lead into sales. And next month they will be on this show to share a bit more about it. Right, on the show then. Lee Cobbs has been retracing his roots in a town he knows so well, trying to find a different photographic angle. Aaron Carter Cheetham talks about his picture-making adventures that took him halfway round the globe to the Venice of the East. And on that note, I've got news about a trip to Venice. Not the one of the East, not the beach, no. And no, certainly not the one in Vegas. But Venice. You know, Venice. The original one. The Italian one. I'm hoping you may travel with me, and Christopher Kincaid is here too. He thinks he may well live in the best place in the world. We shall see. Plus, there's this month's one-word assignment and a chance to send pictures in for the end-of-year comp that we're calling The One. So, shall we walk? Checklist out. Coffee, check. Garibaldi's, check. Well, they are sort of Italian. Dog treats, check. See, Michael? Still remembering. Walking boots, check. Spare film or an extra SD card, yes, check. A parachute and head for heights. What? Well, that'll make much more sense with a letter from Matty Zvesha in a while. Let's walk. The letters, the emails, the messages you share are what make this community truly distinctive, I think. Thank you for being there. Your reflections on walking, creativity, and photography bring a pause from the world's noise as we head out together, covering grounds, making some photos together as we walk to remember the paths that we've walked. Whether that camera's a smartphone or top-of-the-range blurry Tron Gigapixel, you are more than welcome on this walk together. And if you're not a photographer, and it does seem there's increasingly more that don't necessarily think of themselves as photographers, but just like to amble with a world-curious bunch of people who like to record the world in pictures, you are very welcome too. And if you'd like to send a letter in about where you're photographing, the adventures you've been on, then send them to stories@photowalk.show. Stories@photowalk.show. Fabulous to receive your pictures too. We've had quite a few of late that have been through the smartphone mill, I suppose, which resizes them to the size of a small postage stamp. So when you're sending your pictures in full res, please, or if you can, and you're a star if you can resize them to 2,500 pixels wide, that's fantastic. Right, first letter. Where do we start? I mean, it's been a good few weeks since a mailbag and guest show with all the travel, so I've got a good few to read over the coming months as we head towards Don't Say Christmas, Neil. Are we safe yet to say it? No, not just yet. Okay. Anyway, mailbag is back. The first letter, that is, comes from Lee Cobbs with pictures from Lee on the show page today. Make sure you do go visit the show page, photowalk.show. Find the episode, today's being 506, and the pictures we chat about, certainly the ones that are on Valerie's Teach Me Street feature, they're all featured on the show page. So Lee says, I've been an avid invited eavesdropper of the Photo Walk since episode 365 in 2023, and I was instantly inspired from the get-go, spending that year creating a fittingly titled 365 project and a book. But that's not what I'm scribbling to you about on this occasion. My inspiration kept spiralling like a malfunctioning firework. Very relevant this time of year. As I listened to the wave of ideas, pondering and philosophizing from the guests on the unmissable show. Lee, stop. I shall have to reach for the sofa of flattery to hide behind, that is. Viewpoints from your show have stuck with me. I'm paraphrasing here, but don't leave your photographs unseen on a hard drive. Forget imposter syndrome. Print your work, and so on. All got me reflecting. And finally, I built up the courage to exhibit a project of my work in Blackpool at Tiamantes, I think that's how you say it, throughout November, called Back to Front. So it's coming up. Well, we should, I don't know, attend en masse. Quick, bring me my private Learjet. The project centres around a set of streets behind the prom in Blackpool that used to be a major shopping area during the 70s and the 80s. I remember walking this area with my mum and dad as a very excited youngster, smelling the sweet and savoury wafts of treats and being dazzled by those tiny flashing light bulbs on plastic trinkets. Blackpool was, he says, the entertainment capital of the Northwest, and I loved it. But unfortunately, that memory is all that remains of the glamour, because I think the streets are largely a forgotten and hidden relative to the fun of the prom one street away. Intermittent boarded-up shops now, crumbling masonry, and low footfall gives the area a lonely facade. My fond memories mingled with a new vision, and I saw a sad beauty in the passing of time and the constant flux of ourselves and our world that we remember and now experience. I have to say I felt an aching loneliness of the streets and went to work on my project, trying to capture that melancholy through the buildings, the surfaces and streetlights at night. I finally got to where I have now with my exciting first exhibition to show for the hard work of which I wouldn't have ventured into without the stream of creative input from the podcast. I wouldn't have progressed as much as I have over the last 2 years to the point I'm at now, where I feel I have a wealth of inspiration to draw from and hardly ever get that infamous lost mojo biting at the seat of my pants. Hopefully the Garibaldis in my back pocket keep it at bay. They probably do. They can be vicious, those dead fly biscuits. So anyway, that's from Lee. Blimey, Lee. I am proud, nay privileged, to have been a part of your journey. Overused J-word, Neil. I know, I'm just going to keep doing it. Part of this push to get your work on those walls. What a wonderful letter. Thank you so much. And as you talked about melancholy, I thought about my own return to, I went on a sort of melancholic photo. It wasn't really a walk. It wasn't a commission. It's something I fancied doing. I went back to my old school, and it was the secondary school. Shush, pups, I'm telling a story. I'm telling a story. Lee's written a lovely... Okay, hold on. Come here. Captain Keith is not going to be impressed with this, my dog trainer. Giving him treats for him barking, I know, but, sometimes we say, Keith, I'm a bit hungry, can I have something? You see, this is kind of his breakfast. Here we go. They're not treats as such, it's kibble. There we go. Kibble at the start of the day, perfect. 2 poached egg and kibble. I'll have a plate of, thanks very much. That's enough for the moment. Let me talk to Lee, thank you. I went back to my school, Lee, and I did some photography. And it was years and years and years and years after I'd last been there as a pupil. And I found that a melancholic experience. I know we've talked about this once before, I'm sure. But at one stage, they were very good. They chaperoned me because the school was still in term time, so I had to be careful what I photographed, and obviously no pictures of pupils, students. But I went at one stage. I went to a loo that just off one of the main corridors. I went in, and nothing had changed. The old glazed bricks still the same. Okay, the notices on the boards may have changed, but if you didn't really focus on them, same sort of style. The boards certainly hadn't changed. And so So I looked in the mirror, and the only thing that had really changed as I looked in the mirror in that loo was me. I'd become older, more liney. And I have to say, it felt like time travel for me. I'd gone around some sort of planet and aged and nothing else had. So I know what you mean about the melancholic feel of what used to be and what is now. And if somebody could dust off the Learjet, I'll be up in a couple of weeks' time. Oh no, it's November now. I'll be up in a week's time. Incredible work. It's on the show page today for episode 506. Go to photowalk.show. So lots of guest action between your letters today. I'd like to start by introducing you to Richard Dunwoody. As I said at the start of the show, part one is really about his life after riding and finding photography. The second part is more about the heady world of international sport. We don't often do interviews that are completely non-photographic, and this it sort of touches the edges of photography. Slight departure, I appreciate, but I thought you'd be fascinated about some of the particulars of the sport that I was otherwise not aware of. Anyway, this is part one of my conversation with Richard Dunwoody. Richard, it was actually my own travel partner in the business we have for photographic adventures that nudged me in terms of your name. And she said, I've just spotted that Richard Dunwoody is a judge for Travel Photographer of the Year 2025. And I said, I know Richard. She said, well, how do you know Richard? I said, well, I don't know him that well. I last saw him in 1999. It was a long time ago. I know. Well, you popped by the place where I was working at that stage, and I think you were just getting some practice in for auto cue, weren't you, or something?
Yeah, definitely. I was probably doing some media training back in those days, 99. Yeah. Certainly needed it. Did a little bit for the BBC, I think the next couple of years, 2000, 2001. And then I was fed up of watching Tony McCoy ride more winners. So I gave it a break, and then came back and did a little bit more BBC coverage of racing from about 2008 to 2012. So yes, I'm sure it was very helpful at the time, Neil.
Does that mean I could put you on my CV? Trained Richard Dunwoody.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that on your CV. No chance.
I was looking at some of your travels, and you've made a fair few. I mean, we'll come to the horse riding in a moment if you don't mind, but I'm sure you've told the stories a million and one times. But in 2008, you did this unsupported expedition to the South Pole, which fascinated me, mainly because I've been talking to people who've photographed out there. I usually ask instantly, well, what about the bears? But of course, you don't get bears on the South Pole, do you?
No, absolutely nothing. Basically, from where we started, we flew down. We first of all putting together a team. I'd been to the magnetic North Pole on a race organised by David Hampton Adams in about 2003. So I haven't been to a magnetic North Pole, which was at about 80 degrees north. I then sort of had the big ambition to go to a geographic pole, either north or south. North was becoming more and more impossible because of the melting ice. It made sense to go south. And 2007, when I started to get a team together, it was going to be led by a lady called Matty McNair that I met in 2003. Right. She was a leader of polar expeditions. But sadly, Matty went out with Richard Hammond, I think, to do an expedition for, was it Top Gear in the team? Clarkson and May in Toyota Land Cruisers or whatever. And poor old Richard Hammond had to go with Matty and a dog team. Anyway, they came back from that expedition. Matty straight away said, no chance. I know we've been training. We've gone to Norway to do a week's training there for this South Pole expedition starting 2007, December. But she said, no, that's it, finished. I'm never going out in the ice again. So Richard Hammond had absolutely finished her off. I was then in desperate search of another person to lead the expedition, and luckily came across a guy called Doug Stipe, Californian, and Doug had plenty of experience of both North and South Pole. Another person joined us, James Fox, so the three of us set off December the 1st, 2007, and off we went, 700 miles, hoping to make it to the South Pole.
Unsupported, does that mean that there's nobody you can radio out to in a tricky situation? How alone are you on an unsupported?
We are fairly alone.
Right.
As it turned out, James, with the altitude down there, it's something I didn't actually realise until we'd got there, but it was 2,500 metres, if not more, at the actual pole, and you go onto the polar plateau, and that's above 2,000 meters.
Oh, I did not know that.
But the thickness of the ice, obviously, but also the height of the land as well. So, and also being around a pole, apparently the atmosphere is thinner, and it makes you more susceptible to altitude sickness. Less oxygen down there, and he really suffered. And as it turned out, he had to be evacuated around Christmas. I think it was after about 21 days. They flew in once but couldn't land, and then made it about 4 days later. So if anyone needed an emergency real emergency evacuation, fortunately James wasn't too ill, and he was able to make it through those 3 or 4 days. But he had to wait, altogether probably 4 to 5 days before he was evacuated. And not much help down there, not much immediate help if you really need it.
Someone like yourself who's had this extraordinary career as a jockey, whatever you did after being a jockey, and I know it didn't quite end the way you wanted it to, and we'll come back onto that, but I would imagine there would be this, well, what the hell do I do with my life? And things like Antarctica, and you did this other extraordinary one for Sarcoma UK. You walked the length of Japan's 3 largest islands, which is quite a reasonable distance, 2,000 miles, 101 days. There must have been what do I do? How do I fulfill a full life after that?
Yes, I've been very lucky. As probably you may have picked up, Neil, that I started a business, sports marketing business based in Wimbledon. That didn't go particularly well after a couple of years, but in a way it worked out probably even better for me. I met someone called Johnny Bealby, who was at that point just started a venture travel company called Wild Frontiers, and ended up getting to know Johnny very well, and I've been leading trips for him for 22 years now. So that's been something I've really enjoyed, traveling a lot to Central Asia, the various stands. Yeah, it's worked out well, and then fitting in the odd expedition here and there, and challenge like that 2,000 miles through Japan. I've been very lucky, I have to say. I wouldn't change very much since I've retired.
I don't think retire is a word I'm pinning to you at all. So in terms of tell me about the travel that you're doing. You've got the travel company that you're involved in. It's not necessarily just photographic, is it? It's an adventurous, spiriting thing. Not
so much at all. I'm sure we'll get onto the photography in a minute. That didn't come along until about 2011. But Johnny, as I started the company, he had motorcycled around Africa. He'd ridden a horse from basically Kashgar. He bought it in the market and rode the horse to the Caspian Sea.
Wow.
And written books about this, and then off the back of those books and his experience and the contacts he'd made in Central Asia, he then started the company Wild Frontiers in 99. I met him through his brother, basically, who both his brothers, I think, worked in racing. One's a trainer, Chris Bealby. Ashley Bealby was a professional steward, stipendiary steward. And his parents, I believe, also were stewards. So sent to the travel show and met up with Johnny. And that's, as I say, led to a lot of amazing travels. This year it was China in April. And yes, Johnny's made a great success of the business. Done extremely well, and now we're providing holidays to I believe many thousands of clients.
And I would imagine that's why the travel photography of the year judging has happened, or am I wrong there? Because it does seem that this is a reasonably good marriage. Somebody who knows how to travel, somebody who knows how to photograph, will come on to photography. All this sort of conspires together, doesn't it?
Yes, I met Chris Coe, who runs Travel Photographer of the Year. Met him about 2013, and yes, he very kindly asked me to be a judge. I find it fascinating. I think since then, 2014, 2015 was my first year as a judge, and I look forward to every sort of October, November. Runs sort of into the judging runs into the beginning of December usually. It's a hell of a hard job for Chris to sort out so many images. So many entries. He does that before any of the judges go through them. We probably in all go. There are about 3 rounds of judging and come up with the various winners for all the various categories.
Well, photography is a much more democratized thing now, and travel photography in particular. You will have a lot more people that can think of themselves as travel photographers. So I understand when you say Chris has got a bit of a task, but by the time the photographs filter down to you, there's still a lot of work, isn't there?
There's several thousand images still to look at. Portfolios. I think it's 2. You have to qualify for Travel Photographer of the Year. You have to submit at least 2 portfolios of 4 images. So all the portfolio entries, you've also got single shot entries, usually of probably three categories there. We have the eye photo category, young photographer of the year. There's 2 categories there also. So yes, a lot of amazing photos, and there's certainly lots of places that I'd like to end up there someday. But it's not a bad job. Yeah,
there's a reasonably large panel that you work with, I know. What are you looking for? What makes a good travel photograph for you?
Yes, so the usual things: the composition, the lighting. For me, also a moment, or something that really capturing a moment, something that also tells a story as well. There's so many parts to it. I think so. It's hard to actually qualify the right formula, but there have been winners. I think since it started 2003, the first year. 17, I believe winners from 17 different countries around the world. So, and it's great hearing the experience of some of the other judges. Ellie Rothney, wildlife photographer, Jason Edwards also, Eamon McCabe, the amazing photographer, Guardian Observer photographer. He also was a judge.
Yeah, we've spoken to Jason Edwards, and there's a fantastic list of those that judge this. Your photography, now this interests me, because 2011, 2012, you decided to go back to school. Not any school. I'm being a little bit flippant there by calling it a school. You went to Paris to learn to be a photojournalist. Yeah,
and probably one of the best years I've had since I retired. An amazing year, very hard work. They set us a lot of tasks, and because of that, I felt like I learned a hell of a lot. People there like Mark Proust, who was one of the lecturers, who'd worked on WPP, World Press Photographer. Great experience, and picked up a lot, and that was the start of it.
Have you? So where did it go from there? Because I know you have a photographic business. I don't know how.
I wouldn't say these days not so much of a business, but certainly I was very lucky, thanks to Ali Large, who runs her own PR company. Ali put me in touch with some great people, charities like the Brook, which is an equine charity. We had an exhibition in the Crypt, St Martin's in the Lane, Trafalgar Square, and very kindly, Camilla, the Queen, as she is now, came along and opened it. So things like that. It was a good start, a lot of experience. But saying that, I feel 10 years on, as I should be, I feel I'm taking better images now, photographing a lot less, I'd say, but taking better images now than I certainly was 10, 12 years ago.
I've often thought of myself, in some respects, as a bit of a collector of jobs. Podcaster, broadcaster, trainer, photographer, wedding photographer, commercial photographer. I'm a celebrant. I'm just reeling off a load of things that I'm a collector, Richard, and it seems to me that you're a bit of a collector as well, because you've done so much. You've done so much.
The odd speaking job here and there. Can't say it's top of my list of preferred things to do. Yes, motivational speaker, photographer. Yes, we take holidays for Wild Frontiers. So yeah, bits and pieces. Over COVID, myself and Olivia, my partner, we started a business creating websites, and yes, that didn't go too badly for a couple of years. It certainly kept us occupied through COVID.
Yeah, and the move to Spain. I'm intrigued as to why the move to Spain.
Yes, well, 2011-12, we went on holiday to the south of Spain, to a place called San Pablo. It was near sort of Jimena de la Frontera, up towards Ronda, which I'm sure you've heard of in the south of Spain. And then we moved to Gaucin for a couple of years. Millie, our daughter, came along in 2015. So we actually moved back to England, near to my sister, near Pangbourne, just up the road from you.
Yeah, I know it.
And so we were back in the UK for a couple of years. I then went off and did my sort of little jaunt around Japan, and having returned home from that, I think Olivia was feeling the same way. We were both missing Spain quite a lot, and we thought, well, let's go and see if we can give it a go. But rather than be Malaga, we needed somewhere to travel from, a good hub. And Madrid was the place, basically. Yeah, it's worked very well. We lived in the middle of Madrid for 3 years, but 2021 we've moved up to the mountains north of Madrid, and it's absolutely fantastic up here. We live in a small village called Manzanares del Real, and it's a fantastic base.
And Richard Dunwoody is back for part 2 soon. Right, diary's at the ready. Grab your diary for me, would you please? It's just over there. Yeah, just by the car keys. Oh, that's not yours? Oh, right, okay. Well, grab yours. I want to do some diary dates. We have, you see, a number of trips next year for you to take with your camera and curiosity. And this week I'm going to concentrate, over the coming weeks I'll tell you more about all of them, but I want to concentrate, as we're launching it this week, on Venice. Yeah, lil old us. We're off to Venice. I'm going to lean on my studio self in a second to tell us a little bit more, but these are the dates. We meet in the afternoon of Thursday, 26th of November, at the hotel, beautiful hotel we're staying at. It's a get-together to share plans for the 3 days and the evenings that we'll be making pictures. The 27th, the 28th and the 29th, returning back to wherever you've travelled from on the 30th. But let's not talk about the end before we've even started. It's being led by me with Lynn Fraser. It's a place we both love, and we can't wait to photograph it with you. In 2026, we journey to Venice, not the postcard version, but the city locals know once the crowds have gone home. Over 3 unhurried days, we'll walk beside the canals at dawn, when the water turns from silver to gold. Exploring neighbourhoods where daily life continues, shutters opening, deliveries arriving, and the city slowly coming to life. We'll visit the morning markets near the Rialto, where the stone floors are still wet from the early fishing boats, and the air carries the unmistakable mix of salt and conversation. Traders lay out their catch, chefs choose ingredients for the day, and every stall tells its own story of routine. Venice has stood for more than 1,000 years, built on wooden piles sunk into mud and salt water. Every brick and bridge carries the memory of trade and resilience. Once the centre of a maritime empire, it remains a living record of how people adapt to a changing world. We'll step inside churches and galleries that have witnessed that history, places where morning light feels like part of their architecture, and take time to see how the old and the modern coexist. Out across the lagoon, the islands show another side of the story, warehouses, monasteries and homes that have weathered centuries of tide. This photographic retreat isn't about ticking off landmarks, it's about rediscovering patience and curiosity and creative confidence. It's about learning to see and write about what happens when you slow down and simply look. When the world isn't watching, Venice reveals the texture of its age and the rhythm of its people. And that's the city we're going to photograph. If you'd like to know more, go to photowalk.show, click Venice 26, and you'll find a full itinerary. There we go. Venice awaits. I've never photographed, actually, there at night. I've always been socialising, or I was socialising when I went to Venice, so I'm particularly looking forward to the photographic part at night, or in the late evenings. I've put my order in for Lagoon Mist. The idea, of course, as always, is you come out with photographs that talk of your life exploring with a camera, and we haven't actually done a European one yet. So even though both myself and Lynn have travelled pretty extensively in Europe, this is the first one we're going to be doing with you. I can hear a train in the background. Can you hear that? It's more of a rumble than a pinstriped express. I can't quite see the rails here. Even though the autumnal leaves are beginning to fall, I should be able to see through to the railway line, but no. There we go. No pinstripers on that one. Where were we? A quick mention before we meet Valerie for the first time today. For Matisse Vescher, who dropped me a line. Now, we've heard from Matisse before. In fact, the last time was when he went up in a plane with his partner to photograph her jumping out of it on a tandem parachute jump. And we talked about the pictures that he made and the angles that he found in what was a very tight space, actually, inside the aircraft. But he's made a very, very good film of that day. And he sent me a link to the film, which I really want to share with you. So it will be on the show page today. He had a lot going on in his mind, not least that his partner was just about to jump out of an aeroplane as part of a tandem jump, but all sorts of photographic stuff and filmmaking stuff as he was going. So it's an 18 minutes long film, but it doesn't feel like that at all. And he talks about the tension. Actually, it's a very good tutorial in many places, because the light inside an aircraft and the light outside the aircraft, obviously two different stories altogether. So there's some techie kind of stuff in there, which well, you know me, I get a nosebleed with tech, but on this occasion I found that really, really interesting. So yeah, it's a fabulous film. It's so well made, it really is. Love the start as well, with a drone above the aircraft being pulled out the hangar with that sort of cinematic low rumble. Very, very good. I did wonder, although I understand, because of course, had the door open on the side of this plane in that small area that you were sat in with all those that are about to jump, I did wonder why you were tethered as well to a parachute jump instructor. And I thought, there was a part of me that thought he was about to say, come on, Matisse, your turn now. But I get it. If you had in fact taken a tumble while you were filming, then yeah, you'd have been fine, because you were tethered to somebody. Great film though, really is. It's on the show page in the video section. Feet on terra firma though now. Let's go do some street pictures, shall we? A two-parter this week, a bit like my chat with Richard. Here's part one of Teach Me Street with Valerie Jardin, our friend Valerie, who has been on her travels too. Valerie, how was London? I missed you because I was I was in my own adventure somewhere else in the world. But I did miss you. I wish I could have been there. Was it good? I'm sure it would have been.
Oh, it was wonderful. You know, it'd been 5 years since my last London trip. And it was a month before the big lockdown, so I was definitely due for a trip. That London workshop was canceled twice because of COVID, actually. So I was really excited when it was finally happening, and it was awesome. I had forgotten how much I love London, so I can't let another 5 years go by. I need to go again soon.
Where did you give us a couple of places where you photographed?
We went to the stations. The first day was the first day of the workshop. They predicted torrential rains, and actually it didn't rain much at all. So we hit some stations. We did that tunnel, that colorful tunnel. Of course, we went to the Tate Modern. We photographed the skateboard park along the river. It was just great. And a lot of last minute, like, oh, let's just go down this road. Let's go down the street. And very spontaneous. And as always on a workshop, we know when we start, we never know when we finish. Yeah. And so it was a lot of good times, good laugh, good camaraderie with some old friends and some new ones. So it was all around good. Good beer, good pubs.
I do like the skate park. It's challenging though, isn't it? Because the light is tricky.
Yeah, I have one picture that I'm happy with where there was just one shaft of light. Yeah. That's all. Yeah. And I photographed the skater's shadow as he was zooming through, and all that in camera movement. So trying something different because I had been there before. And everybody was really good. I said, you guys, you can go in. We asked the skateboarders, can we walk around? And there were not too many of them. And they said, sure. But then I made sure everybody was safe. So you really have to stay close to a post. Yeah. You can't just be in the middle of everything because it can be dangerous. So you have to be super careful.
The last time I was there was what I might call an old geezer. But I think of myself as a bit of an old geezer now. But he was on his skateboard. He was a skateboarder of the 80s, and he wasn't very good. But the young guys and girls that were in there just let him have the whole stage. They watched him. It was fantastic.
Fun.
Yeah,
fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It's always different. So.
And Paris comes up in January, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm thinking I'm going to be there. I've just got to do some dotting T's and crossing I's. But I had so much fun last time. And you still have one place left, don't you?
Yeah, there is one place. So you'll be our special guest.
No, don't call it that again.
I know. But yeah, if someone wants to grab the last spot, it's on the website.
It's on
Absolutely.
The website, yeah. So I've never been to Paris in January. Well, what's it like? I mean, weather-wise, it's going to be a bit more inclement.
Yeah, I mean, it can be just like London in October. I mean,
true.
I was actually thinking, I'm wearing the same things I would be wearing in Paris in January. It's never super cold. If it's cold, then it's dry, cold, and sunny. Yeah. If it's near the freezing mark. But it can definitely be warm and wet too. So we'll get a little bit of everything, and it's good. It's all good.
Well, I tell you where it's dry. It's San Diego, California. I didn't quite get to San Diego when I was. LA's not so far away from it, but it wasn't the right direction. So that's where we're going to start with Teach Me Street this time. Don Ridgway has sent some pictures in. I live in San Diego, he says, California, but these are from our splendid visit, though, to Paris in 2018, using my treasured Fuji XQ1. Valerie will, of course, know the places anyway. I don't have a question about street photography, really, but an observation that I always feel a bit fumble-fingered and I miss stuff. Does it help to practice quick response?
Yes, it's the art of the grab shot. We've talked about that before, and that's something I've learned to master when I'm on vacation or with family who are non-photographers, and when I don't give myself the time to get the shot like I would normally do if I was on a workshop or by myself. And that really trains you to respond quickly so that you don't feel frustrated. It's something you can practice. Absolutely.
Well, you sent some pictures in, and the first one is the one of the bride in the park. I'm assuming that's the park we all went to in the summer, isn't it? Did he write the place? No. Square Jean 13th. Huh?
Okay, yeah, it's a different park because I don't recognize the store or anything in the background. But lots of little squares in Paris where you have that same, the same trees, the park benches, and the dappled light.
Yeah. Well, we've got a bride in the background who is walking quite earnestly, head down. She looks like she's on a mission, walking forward. In the foreground, there's some people sat on a seat just minding their own. So it's a bit of a picture of formality and informality all in one. I don't know the guy in the back as well on the left-hand side, whether he's a street photographer or is the official photographer, but he's wearing shorts. But then I spied just to the right of the frame what looks like the groom who is waiting for a surprise to see her for the first time.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if he tried to do like an interconnection between like the couple, the married couple maybe, who is sitting, an older couple on the bench, and then the young couple having their wedding pictures done. That's usually not a wedding. They only come to Paris for the pictures. The wedding either has already happened or will happen, but it's a big thing in Paris.
Where's the authenticity, eh?
I know, they only come for the pictures. So and so they're having their wedding pictures taken. So I don't know. To me, I see there is a connection between the two, and I wonder if the photographer tried to convey that.
Right.
Although I'm not sure the photographer who is walking away, who's probably not the wedding photographer, is that important in the shot. I would probably crop that a little tighter and just have the couple on the bench, and then the bride and groom kind of framing them along with those
sort of the
strings.
expectation of the whole moment and the normality otherwise.
Yeah. I think so. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to photograph in this dappled light. I mean, clearly the highlights are completely blown, and that happens all the time if you want to actually see what's happening in the shadows. So it's a difficult lighting situation.
What's your feelings when things blow out? Does that trouble you in pictures, or is it, look, if it goes, it goes?
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like there is anything there that's important. So, and sometime in a situation, even with silhouettes, if you blow out the highlights behind the silhouette, well, you remove any possible distraction that could ruin the silhouette. So I don't care so much about blown out highlights. I think if you worry too much about that kind of thing in street photography, your pictures are going to be a little boring. So just live dangerously and don't worry so much about the blown out highlights and the super deep shadows. I love the deep shadows. So the contrast is always fun to play with.
I do remember you saying that actually on the Parisian workshop that you did back in the summer. And it was good to hear, because otherwise I think I'd be, how do I balance this shot? So that was useful to know. Now the other one I think is right up your street, really. This one, it's the portrait orientated picture of the couple having a canoodle by the river. They're one stage down from the from high street level, or from street level.
Yes, and I can feel the limitations in the focal length here. I'm sure the photographer wished they had been able to get a little closer, but from across the river, that's not always possible. So I love it's love in Paris, and many years ago I did a series on love, and I started the series in the United States, and it was like no one shows public display of affection
really
in the U.S. Oh. I mean, no, not like you see in Paris. So I was like, oh, it's boring. And then I remember that summer I went to the Netherlands. I'm like, that's a little bit better. And then
they have no shame. They have no shame in the Netherlands. They just get on with it.
And then I finished the trip in Paris, and I'm like, finally. And there was a lot of kissing and more to be photographed. And so that reminded me of that time when I was desperately looking for public display of affection on the streets.
You make it sound like everybody's snogging each other's chops off, to use a beautiful old-fashioned colloquial phrase. It's a nice shot, but I do see what you mean by when you're across the Seine, which is by no means a small river. It's tricky, isn't it? It really is tricky.
Yeah, because I wish we did not. I wish we didn't have the street above.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I mean, it gives a sense of place, and that's all right. And even then, the eye goes to this couple who is dressed in white or gray shirt, so they really stand out. This is a travel photograph because we know where we are. We see Quai des Souvenirs. We see the name of the street, so we know we're in Paris. Without that, it would just be a photograph about love, whether we guess it's Paris or not. So I like it the way it is for the travel photography part of it, which I think was the intent.
Yes.
We see the boxes for the booksellers and everything. It's so iconic, Paris, but they're a little lost in there too, which fits. They're kind of isolated.
Well, thank you, Don Ridgway, for your pictures there. And the second part of Teach Me Street is coming shortly. And Valerie is back shortly for part 2. Yes, two two-parters today. Told you it was busy. We haven't made many sketchbook photos yet. I know, good reminder, pups. Let me make a sketchbook photo. I'll put that down there. There we go. Let's give you one of these for a second. There we go. And then I can make some pictures. No, don't put your snout in the in the trough. In the tin, the trough. Neil, you're talking about politicians. Don't get political. There we go. There we go. Very nice. Right, I'm going to make a picture. There's another one that you dropped out the side of your mouth. Nice eating style. Right. The old faithful X100 is with me. And I'm going to shoot through the leaves, through the autumnal leaves. Yeah, all these oranges. Beautiful oranges and browns and yellows, everything on the turn, leaves now falling along. Oh, let me turn the volume up. I had the volume turned down low. I usually like to have it turned up quite loud so you can hear me making photographs. Sound set up, shutter volume, Maximus. There we go. Right, let's do another one. No, not f2.5, too shallow. F4, 1/2/5. 250 ISO, bit of a blur day in terms of the clouds, and here we go. Sketchbook photograph. Oh, Barney, I put my notes and stuff on the path. You just walked all over them. Look, got paw prints all over it. This one with paw prints on it is from Aaron Carter Cheetham, and I have to say, it's has been maturing nicely in the mailbag for a little while now. Apologies for the wait, Aaron, but your story is a good one, so I don't want to miss it. I do say that I get to them all eventually, and I do. Hello, Neil. Let's just get this out of the way first. You'll be glad to know that I am your other listener. So at least you know both of us now. I see, no, you could be the other listener. But no, I think you're far more polite than the other listener. I've listened to your show religiously for the last few months now, basically since picking up my camera again. And I have to say each week it's a source of inspiration, French accent for no reason whatsoever, and it really helps get those weird juices flowing. Steady on, Aaron. You'll be lighting up Complaints Corner with lines like that. My photographic journey has been a pretty strange one, I think. I picked up a camera on holiday in Thailand in 2015 and snapped a nice selection of absolutely terrible images. Seriously, these are the worst things you can ever imagine taking, and I took them. So once I got back home, I decided it was the camera's fault. It always is, Aaron. So into the dark depths of the cupboard it went, along with a guitar that was also broken and meant it couldn't be played. Is there a pattern appearing here? Probably there is. Anyway, I did save those images, and one cloudy winter's day, whilst bored, I was browsing my Thailand images from that holiday and stumbled across one picture. A line of tuk-tuks parked up in Bangkok that really caught my eye. Turned out the camera wasn't broken, or a piece of you-know-what. It turned out that I was possibly the problem. That guitar, on the other hand, definitely broken, not me. And that image was what that camera needed to see the light of day again. My 22-year-old self ran up the stairs, demolished everything in my path to grab that little black box and figure out how the hell to take images like that tuk-tuk shot again. Enter one Peter McKinnon of YouTube royalty. Yes, he is. At that point, he was still pretty new to the whole YouTube thing, and he basically taught me how to use a camera. Quite the photographic education. Don't be jealous. I am. I'm very... Do you mean that you spent time with Peter? Is that what you mean? With my newfound skills and knowledge, as well as a nifty 50 to work with, I thrust myself into photography. A few months went by, and the Nikon, depending upon where you live in the world, D5200 from Thailand was replaced by a pair of D750s, a few other primes, and I found myself shooting weddings. Goodness, that is a leap into the unknown. Anyway, a couple of years flew by and a few weddings in the bag, as well as a passion for photography that was stronger now than ever. My wife and I decided to pack our bags and actually move to Bangkok. That was 2019 and we're still here now. That 1-year travel trip to Southeast Asia turned into 6 years, it seems. Not only that, 2 dogs and a child arrived in those 6 years. Not sure how or what happened, but I feel, wait for it, here we go, mushy moment alert, I feel blessed. I figured the weddings might be a little hard work with a language barrier, so I didn't try and continue with that here in Thailand. But lucky as I seem to have been with my camera in hand, I managed to shoot a variety of commercial jobs as a side hustle, as a little hobby. Hotels, restaurants, portraits and products, and so on. All the while I was immersed in street and travel photography, constantly taking and snapping images wherever I was or wherever we travelled to. When my daughter arrived, as any parent will know, my mindset on life changed drastically. That absolutely insane drive to work and find the next commercial shoot began to slow down, as did the hobby. Right up to the point where I totally walked away from it. My focus was on my wife and daughter, and nothing else mattered. But, see, I knew there was a but in this story. In October 2024, something happened in my life. And the idea that life is so precious and can be taken away at any moment forced me to dust the camera off and get back out there capturing images. This time, however, with my new and changed mindset, I wanted to focus on me and what I wanted to capture rather than shooting for clients. Stories and people and cultures and landscapes are what really make me tick, and so I decided to think of some projects and stories to shoot and focus on moving through 2025. And that's what brings me here now to share some of my work and ideas with you. A person I admire and trust, careful, bring me the sofa, need to hide behind it, and will have a great view and opinion on my work. My current project in the works is Venice of the East. Very pertinent. This is what Bangkok was once called by the early explorers due to its dependence on the river that runs through the centre, as well as the canals that meander across the city. Keep doing what you're doing, mate. Thanks again. From Aaron, spelt like the Isle, and hopefully as warm as one of their jumpers. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. First up, I'm so sorry it's taken me a long time to get to your letter, so much so that the pictures, pups, hang on, Aaron, don't rub yourself in stuff. Let's not be doing that. It's too cold for showers this time of year, isn't it? Or I'll just throw you in the river, one of the two. Yeah, Aaron, I'm so sorry it's taken so long, and it has taken an amount of time where the pictures that the download thing that you sent me has run out. So I'm hoping that by the time the show page goes live, you'll have received my email saying, help, please send pictures, and we'll be able to see them on the show page. I know, I will find them. I will. But as for your life in Thailand and your people photography, top drawer, I say, he says, sounding very English, compared to that McKinnon chap. Love him, by the way, I do. I've written to Peter a few times, never managed to connect with him, sadly. But you're keeping, I think, Aaron, you're keeping life on the water as stories alive, which is, I think it's strong documentary work. It really is. I obviously people feel very comfortable with you. They do, otherwise you wouldn't get the kind of portraits. Can we call them street portraits when you're out in the water? We can, that you're getting. So clearly you feel confident in your approaches to these people and the work. It's really good. It is, and it'll only get better, of course, now that you've dusted off that camera and you're doing more and more travel work. It's beautiful travel work, isn't it? I use that word, beautiful on purpose, because it's just a beautiful experience to be able to connect with people that aren't necessarily who aren't speaking your language and aren't the culture that you're used to. I think that's the whole joy about traveling and going to places which you otherwise have never visited before. I've had so many conversations actually about this when people say, I'd rather go to X, 5-star pool and beach towels on tap. And I do like places like that. Don't get me wrong. I like to luxuriate with the best of them. But I have to say, that idea of travelling, making photographs, because I think you truly connect when you make photographs on your travels. I really do. Not just with people, but with a place as well. I think that's a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful life experience. So thank you so much. And long may your shutter, as it were. Right, a couple of challenges in a row to think about here as the jet flies over. Numero uno is the assignment, which is stretching into another month, since last month was indeed a travel one for me. And I couldn't quite keep on top of the entries, to be honest with you. So are you ready for this month's assignment? Last month's and this month's. There we go, there's a pinstriped express going past. Ooh. Crikey, that's one of those heritage ones. Fantastic. Oh, I just can't get through the foliage here to photograph it. Look at that. Is that an old Deltic or something? Anyway, back on track. Travel photographer Liza Gershman has our challenge for you.
The photo walk assignment.
Liza, a one-word assignment. What's yours going to be?
Grounded.
Grounded.
I like the idea of grounded as what we do to center ourselves and to create the best art that we can. Mm-hmm. So when I was a professor, I encouraged my students at the start of class every day, we did a meditation. Yes, I'm a California hippie. And so grounded, and then my connection to food, which would be grounded the earth, the land, actual grounding, the farmers that I'll be photographing very soon. Grounded is definitely what travel helps me feel, even though some people say it's an escape. I never feel more connected than when I'm traveling. So that's how I ground myself into humanity, is to travel and to look through a lens. So I think it's many, many different ways, but grounded, that's my word.
So there's the assignment. Good luck. I shall tell you how to take part in a moment, but if you don't mind me throwing two things at you, as they say, I'm also looking for the picture of the year that you've made, known as The One. Cue the song. The picture that's meant the most to you this year, that carries a particular important story, perhaps. It could be a frame that made you laugh, maybe one that's, we've talked about melancholy in photography, and pictures can certainly do that, can't they? Look at those cows over there, hang on. I'm going to get just a sketchbook image. Trouble is, they're all sat by an electricity pylon. Oh, hang on. Barnes is barking at a bike. Barney, come here. He's fine with bikes.
I didn't know really, but
no, he's good.
Best to go slow.
Not usually bothered about bikes at all. You must have a look.
Thank you very much.
No, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Have a good ride.
Yeah, cheers then. Thank you.
See you later.
Quite excited, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the cows all. Yeah. I'm making a podcast. That's why I'm holding this microphone up. But no, it's good to talk to you. But a friend of mine from the States said they lie down because they keep their undercarriage warm. It's nothing to do whether it's going to rain or not.
Very nice. Yeah.
I love it though, isn't it? Lovely to see all those.
Beautiful, yeah.
All the cattle there.
Yeah, it makes a nice scenic picture, really.
It does. Well, it would if it weren't for the electricity pylon.
Right, yeah.
That's the only thing that's bugging me.
Yeah, right.
Could you possibly pop over and remove it?
All right,
Right, I'll hold the dog back.
All the best.
All the best. See you later. Stay there, pups. What's got into you? Don't bark at bikes. Honestly, come on. Don't do that. Let yourself down there. You have. Did I actually make that picture? Not quite sure if I did now. What with chatting to that chap on his bike that you were terrorising, pups? So let's get a sketchbook. Well, I am bothered about the electricity pylons or the wires or f4, 480 shutter speed, 160 ISO. A cursory click, really, because I'm not sure that'll make the cut. But that's what sketchbooking's about with your camera, isn't it? But yes, the one, that's where we were. The one, send in the picture. It's got to have been made this year, obviously. So get your pictures in as soon as you can. To stories@photowalk.show. Stories@photowalk.show. Same address for the assignment as well. If you can make it 2,500 pixels wide, you are an absolute star. You really are. And Barney agrees. Otherwise, full resolution is fine, and I will do the heavy lifting for you. No borders, no watermarks. Do make sure you send through, if you wish to, a link to your website, your social, or something like that, so we can share your work with the world of PhotoWalk listeners. Right. I think we've done all the housekeeping there, and a picture of cows lying down. Shall we return to Valerie? I think we should. Part 2 of Teach Me Street. If you would like, by the way, to have a question read out on Teach Me Street or send a picture in, same address, stories@photowalk.show. See? There's a pattern forming. Next up is Mark McKay. Now, he's got a series of questions, and we've got one photograph from him to review. Let me go with a question first, a couple of questions. You mentioned, Valerie, before that you often shoot with auto ISO when you're working on the street to stay responsive. Can you talk about why that works for you, and whether there were moments where you thought, oh, maybe I should have taken manual control?
I do take manual control when necessary, but I never worry about the ISO. The one dial that really gets a workout is the exposure compensation dial. Again, it's all about quick reaction and response. So you cannot change your settings in that fraction of a second. So you really have to make it work for you. But yes, of course, if it's late and I need to go into full manual because the light is really dark or I will jump into full manual. But when I head out the door with my camera, I'm on auto ISO, and I don't worry about that too much. The camera can make those settings pretty quickly, and especially faster than we can. I work in aperture priority most of the time. When I'm not in aperture priority, then I'm usually in full manual. But that's only for a shot here and a shot there.
In terms then of the X100 series of cameras that you love, where do you pop the exposure compensation? Because you can program it to be on either back or front, can't you? Of the dial.
Yeah, the dial on the upper right. Yeah, right next to the shutter release.
But there's one at the back and one at the front, isn't there? I haven't got mine in front of me at the moment.
Oh, okay. No, I just used the proper dial.
Right. Okay. Ask a stupid question.
Oh, but I actually found where the digital zoom was.
Oh, did you? But you only really find that if you're in JPEG mode. Yeah, but you can't be in RAW. But you shoot in JPEG anyway, don't you? So.
Yeah, and I never used it.
Do you mean you've never accidentally done that?
No. I never even missed that.
Yeah.
I never cared. And so basically it crops your picture so that's where I found out. I was like, okay, I'm using this. I used it recently on 50 or even 70. So I'm going to try this thing, how it works. And then the quality of my picture goes down. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. And so why does it do that? Yeah. So it got me confused for a moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of a crude method of doing it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so I figure, well, then cropping could do exactly the same thing and maybe keep a better quality. I don't know. Yeah,
I've never worked out which one, whether you zoom in within the camera or whether... I've spoken about this with Kev actually before on the Fujicast, or whether you do it afterwards in Lightroom, which one would be better. I don't think either of us could figure out what one would work better.
Better, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
but yeah, it did not make me miss having a proper zoom. So I quickly went back to 23 because that's how I see the world. Yeah. So
I've noticed, he says, sometimes you share images with a lovely silhouette look, especially around sunset or in alley light. How do you handle exposure in those situations? I know we talked about this before, but of course, well, as much as we like to think everybody hangs on our every word, I think sometimes it misses. Do you let auto ISO do its thing there, or are you using exposure compensation? We sort of partly answered this, but just so we're sure.
So I use exposure compensation because technically, if you're doing a silhouette, you should be in spot metering, right? So that you don't overexpose the highlight. Yeah. But usually, switching metering will require you go into a menu, which usually on the street you don't have time for. Yeah. So if you stay in average metering, then using exposure compensation will kind of do the same thing. So you don't blow out the highlights if that's what you decide to do, and then your silhouette will still remain really dark. So just try not to meter on the person. That's the important part. Otherwise, they're going to be properly exposed, and everything else will be blown out. So the exposure compensation really does the trick, and then you can tweak again in Lightroom after the fact. But it's nice to get it right. And so I don't know what he used here for. Well,
this is his fisherman. Yeah. Angling shot, isn't it? Are they anglers or fishermen? I always get the two confused. You can't get that wrong in the fishing world. But they're at the seaside, and they are silhouettes, aren't they? What's your thoughts? I will put the picture on the show page.
I liked how he actually got a high vantage point so that they're silhouetted within the sand area, which is really bright. So with silhouettes, you either make sure you have a really low angle and they stand out in the sky, or like here, get a high vantage point so they're silhouetted either in the water or on the brightest surface, which here would be the sand. Works just fine. So I liked how he handled that. I like how there is separation between the two fishermen, and also there is gesture. One is, doing something, and I don't know, he's showing the other one something with his hand. There is a story.
He looks like he's showing him is the smallest fish that he caught that day. It was this small. Could be. It was this small.
so it worked here. It worked, and then we still have a little bit of the horizon line, which I'm not sure is completely straight.
It's not, is it?
I would straighten it if it's just a little bit off. I always say, tilt it like you mean it. So if it's really tilted, then it works. It's dynamic. But sometimes it's just a little bit off. Now you want to fix that.
What's your feelings about Dutch tilt? I have a very good friend of mine that tilts like a Dutchman. But very, very.
I don't want to ask what that means.
Well, Dutch tilt being. Does that sound a bit rude? Sorry if there's not an expression you've used. When you have wonky horizons. Maybe we'll just call it wonky horizon. The other one sounded a bit suspect, and it wasn't supposed to.
For horizons and verticals, I like things to be straight. If they're really tilted, then it's done on purpose. But if it's just slightly off, then it looks like a mistake, and then you want to straighten it. So if I have a building and it's just slightly off, your verticals need to be straight. I used to shoot architecture for architects, so I had to do all that manually. Now it's really easy to do. Yeah, and horizon light, I'm really good. People always say, you must have one of those, how do you call that, those bubbles?
Yeah.
I said, no, it's very rare that I need to adjust my horizon line. It's always
sounds
straight.
like it's been it programmed into you by the sound of it.
Yeah. So it's funny, but anyway, but I also see when it's slightly off, and it bothers me. I just had that conversation with a friend who posted a beautiful shot, and I said, "Too bad it's not straight." She's like, "What do you mean it's not straight?" I'm like, "Well, look, it's not straight." She had not seen it, and it just jumped at me when I saw it. Some people see it, some people don't.
I bet you do the same. I was in it was the Warwick Hotel in New York, and there was a particular corridor, and it had some pictures up, and they were all just slightly squiffy, and I thought, I'm going to straighten those. And I went
Did the alarm ring?
I went in to straighten them, and they were so bolted on the wall, it just wasn't possible. But it bothered me every time I walked past them. I was thinking, that's not quite straight.
Yeah, that's strange, but. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. Sometimes it's just a creative decision, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong way to do it, as long as you're happy with it, right?
There's 2 questions more that he's sent in. You've also said you prefer JPEGs rather than RAW, which we mentioned a moment ago. What draws you to that workflow? And how do you make sure you still get the creative flexibility you want through the workflow of not using RAW?
As a creative, I think you learn to become a better photographer by making decisions before you press the shutter, right? Any decision you make in Lightroom is not going to teach you to become a better photographer. And so to me, those limitations of jumping without the safety net of the RAW file made me make those decisions before I pressed the shutter. And I think I became a better photographer because of that. And also a RAW file in street photography. I mean, what creative decision would I make after the fact that a RAW file would give me? It's not like I'm going to change the sky or do this or that. So I don't even remove things or... Yeah. So JPEG, you know, it's like shooting a wedding. Most wedding photographers shoot JPEGs. You have to shoot so many of them. And it works for me. And I love the film simulations. I think that's actually why I started shooting JPEG at the time, is when I switched to, I was shooting Canon, then I switched to the Fuji X100. And I loved the film simulations. So at first I was shooting RAW. So I was using the film simulation that Lightroom would give me at the time, which was Adobe's rendition of the Fujifilm simulation. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I can get them right in camera. Why would I go through all those extra steps? And then I shot RAW plus JPEG, and then I never looked at the RAW file. And then I decided, well, I don't need it. And I like limitations. Choosing whether it's going to be color or black and white before you press the shutter is a creative decision. It's not something you should decide after the fact. Anyways, you should always know. Even if you shoot RAW, ask yourself, is this a color moment or is it a black and white moment? That's something, no matter what, that the photographer should ask themselves before they press the shutter. And it's really important to me. And so whether you want to go the extra step and really limiting yourself to, okay, all I have is the black and white now, I'll never have a color.
No safety net.
You know, it's for some people, it gives them anxiety. To me, it's liberating. So it depends on your personality, I guess, too. I don't know.
In terms of colour, I know this is the Photo Walk and not the FujiCast, but is there a preferred film simulation you like?
Yeah, classic chrome still.
Classic chrome.
Yeah. And I've tried other ones, but I always come back to classic chrome. So, yeah.
Final question, technical one. Back button focus. Do you use it? Ever,
nope.
He says. No, I didn't. I could put that on the Valerie's never used back button focus pile.
The list of the features I have never used on that camera is probably much longer.
Well, we discovered that you didn't even know where the zoom was until last week or the week before.
Yeah, I don't know how I stumbled upon it. Oh, that's what that is.
That's where it is, right. Well, look, lovely to talk to you as ever. Thank you, Mark, for your question, and thank you, Don, or your questions, and thank you, Don, as well. Now, we're possibly going to do something a bit different for next month, involving a reflection and some questions from that reflection. And I think that's the only way I'm going to tease it. I shall say no more.
The reflection that was just a tad too short.
And my thanks to Valerie Jardin, who will be returning next month with something a bit different, actually. As I said before, the second part of our chat, if you'd like to send in a question for Valerie about street photography, then stories@photowalk.show is the address. All those letters that are featured and pictures that are featured on the show page as well for the feature, will receive a free ebook from Valerie. You can take your choice, take your pick of those that are on Valerie's website. And so if you get your questions in, you can have a free ebook too, if you're read out. Quick letter from Christopher Kincaid, then the final part of today's visit to España, talking with international jockey Richard Dunwoody, who lives in a lovely part of the world now. By the way, you'll not be able to guess the times he's fallen. Have a guess. Have a guess. It's part of the conversation I was just not expecting. Go on. No, it's not that. Have another guess. No, not that either. He'll answer that question shortly. Right, letter from Christopher. Greetings from Homer, Alaska. Have we had an email from Alaska before? Oh, yes, we have. Of course we have. Yes. Of course we have. 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 6 or 7. Yeah, I know. The kids in the car's eyes lit up then. He said 6 or 7. 6, 7. Haven't they banned it in schools now? I've no idea. What does this thing mean? And am I saying something that's probably not very politically correct or something? But this 6 or 7 thing, if you've got kids, you'll know what I'm talking about here. There's memes and all sorts of stuff, isn't there? No idea what it means. Anyway, where were we? So yes, greetings from Homer, Alaska. I'm fairly confident, says Chris, I live in one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Every day is a successful photo walk here. Let me know when you're coming. We'll take a walk together. Well, if you put it like that and you've got a spare room and my Learjet can go just a little bit further, expect me sometime before lunch tomorrow. What are we having? I'm not very demanding. I often chuckle at the idea of a photography podcast, says Chris. Photography being so visual, how can audio alone suffice? But kudos to you, Neil. Your descriptions and commentary fill my mind with pictures every single time. I think I've talked about this before because, and there's plenty of photography podcasts. They're usually interview based, aren't they? And we're sort of, well, we are interview based with a mixture of walking and making pictures, which I suppose, yes, you're right. Pictures aren't necessarily, although, as I have said before, one of my initial pieces of training at the BBC was that radio paints better pictures. And that's not me saying it. That was my trainer, and I suspect that he got that from stuff that he'd been trained with as well. Radio paints better pictures. So this podcast, in that respect, is based on that principle. And if I look back, and we have talked about this before, he was one of our first guests, actually. Phil Minot was his name, or is his name, not was, is his name. Sorry, Phil. And many moons ago, when I was on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, which was a local radio station, I had the arts show in the afternoon. Joe Pinnock was the researcher for the show, and Joe one day said, we're going to do something starting from next week. We're going to do photography on the radio. And I must admit, I said, are you mad? Really? Photography on the radio? This is radio. How could we possibly do a feature about photography? But we did. Phil came in every single week, and he answered questions from people that phoned in that wanted to know how to make better photographs. And blow me if it worked. If it didn't work, if it worked. No, it worked. So in many respects as well, I do think about those times when I worked with Phil making that programme week after week on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. Perhaps it was a precursor, really, to the belief that this could be a podcast. Anyway, I digress quite a lot. Back to the letter. I've included a recent shot that I took of all the ladies in my life. My wife and 3 daughters at the Alaska State Fair. I could tell we were slowing down for the day. They took a little extra time resting on a bench in front of the big top. My wife taking in the rays of the sun full-faced. My twin daughters excitedly expressing the escapades of their adventures away from us during the day. And my youngest all but sleeping on Mum's shoulder. And I, turning to take it all in, found myself breathless at the sight. I'm sure you did. It's a fantastic picture. It's a perfect composition. It really is. The big top is framing everybody beautifully. And I'm very proud to share this on the show page today. It's another one of those top draw moments. It really is. Every person in this portrait is telling a different story. I trust you have this as a big canvas somewhere in your house, I hope. But thanks for your letter, and the picture will be on the show page, as I say. Right. Second part of my chat this week, the concluding part with Richard Dunwoody, after which we'll have this week's play-out song. A tune just to spare some thoughts about what's been said and discussed on the show today. It's from Ziv Moran, and the song's called High Time. I'm not sure whether we've played this one before. I would have to ask the Oracle of Music in that respect, but it's a wonderful song, and I'm going to be a little bit cliche. Bark if you think that it's too cliche, and say it's high time, to meet Richard. It is. I'll give you that. For part 2 now of our conversation, here's Richard Dunwoody to take us to the finish line. I'm quite proud of that one. Well, it would be amiss of me if I didn't talk about your racing career. It starts, well, you're born in Belfast, aren't you? I'm not expecting a biography from you because we'll be here till, I don't know, a month Tuesday. But you moved across, you had to move across, it was during the Troubles, wasn't it? And I know you've documented
it was
that.
very much the same. Belfast, I watched Kenneth Branagh, well, not quite the same. We were out of Belfast, down near Newtonards, Millisle. But Dad was training racehorses, and it meant crossing, because there are two racecourses in the north. But most of the time he was crossing the border, taking the horses south to run down there. And there were a couple of times coming back across the border that it wasn't particularly safe. There was one night we crossed over in a town called Newry, very close to the border. It looked as if the whole place had been set on fire. Yeah. And I think my mother, come sort of the spring of 72, had enough. Her parents were elderly. They lived in Lambourne, so we decided to move back.
Well, Lambourne, for those, because we have over half of our audience are actually across the Atlantic, the transatlantic, Americans and Canadians. And so Lambourne, I should explain, is the valley it's called the Valley of the Racehorse, isn't it?
Valley of the Racehorse, that's right. Yeah. So that was my introduction to the English racing scene. Really, I'd already been to quite a few of the race courses. I loved my racing with Dad training the horses. It was my ambition from 4 or 5. I was riding a pony, and I always wanted to be a jockey. So Dad had a retired racehorse that I could sit on, age 9 or 10.
Wow,
at that stage. So it was all. Yeah, it was all starting to key up. Dad was then made redundant in his job as a stud manager. So we moved to Newmarket. That was when I was 12. And from that time, basically every day of the school holidays, I was sat on a racehorse. I rode out for a couple of trainers, Ben Hambury to begin with. He was a flat trainer, as was Paul Kellaway. Dad worked at Paul's, and I joined him for 4 weeks. Winter and spring, and 8 weeks during the summer, and it was a great grounding. Couldn't be done now. I was very lucky we didn't need insurance or whatever, and I was able to ride out from that age to from the age of 12.
But I must have seen you race. I mean, I've seen you race on telly, but I must have seen you race in person. So I moved into to Berkshire in the mid 90s, 94, 95. And I went a few times to Newbury, and I'm thinking, did I watch Richard race? I must have.
I'm sure I fell off a few times.
Well, and that's and that's the next thing. When we were just setting up this call, just before we turned the record button on, Richard said to me, I know Thatcham, which is where I live, in that you used to have somebody here who put you right when it all went wrong when you fell off a horse. And I wasn't expecting you to say, well, I had about 700 falls. I thought
682 apparently to be precise.
So is every single one documented?
I kept an account of all my rides, every ride. I wrote them down. I took that advice off Huel Davis, who was the number 1 jockey at Captain Forster's when I arrived there. But Huel used to always write up his rides. So I thought, yes, well, if he does it, it's something I should do. Yeah. But it keeps an account. And also, if you rode a horse in the future, or you hadn't ridden him for a long time, you could look back at your records and see what's the best way to ride him, or did I make a mistake on him last time? So it was a very handy record. I've still got them down the basement or whatever now, but it's
how many times if you fell that many times, how many times did you ride?
Probably I was in total of over 11,000 races. Wow. So the most I rode in one season was 900. That was the close season, 93, 94, where myself and a guy called Adrian Maguire were sort of fighting for the championship. It was very, very close. I think that was the year I missed Cheltenham. I tried to stop Adrian from going down my inside, and basically took it a little bit too far and ran him out through the wing So I received a 2-week ban, or I think it might have been 10 days anyway. But it meant that I missed the big meeting, the festival meeting at Cheltenham.
What's life like in the weigh-in room and afterwards? I mean, are you all chums and friends, or I don't know, what's that atmosphere like?
Generally, we get on very, very well. But there were one or two occasions, I'd say that day that Adrian, I took Adrian off the course. He was not best pleased.
No.
Myself and a commentator now, Mick Fitzgerald, had a little contretemps at Ascot one day. But besides that, we normally... Luke Harvey also, he wound me up a few times, I have to say.
Well, look, you've won the Grand National twice, Cheltenham Gold Cup, the Champion Hurdle, the big three of the National Hunt. When you look back, which moment probably explains who you were as a rider? What the character that you had as a rider?
The one I look back to is the second Grand National, Freddie Starr's horse, Mini Homer, for Martin Pipe. He gave me an amazing ride that year in the National. Made it all very, very easy for me until the last. I hit the front probably, as we say, a little bit too soon. Adrian, my great rival that year, he was in front jumping the last. Unfortunately, his horse eased up or stopped. Didn't literally stop, but slowed down quite rapidly as he headed away from the last fence. I ended up in front. And then my horse, because he didn't like being in front, and we always had it to arrive at the very last minute. But that didn't go according to plan. He started to ease up and to stop, and I had this a horse called Just So, arrive at my girth just as we hit something called the elbow, which is about a furlong out. But fortunately for me, Mini Homer started to run on again, and we just held on. Luckily for me,
it's just so technical, isn't it? I think when you watch the horses start, you think, well, okay, well, it's just pelt it, see how quickly you can go. But it's far more technical.
It's not. They're all characters. Yeah. It's getting inside their head. It's, I'd ridden him in a race before at Newbury, and that day he won very easily. But as soon as he hit the front, all he wanted to do was wait for the others. He was a very intelligent horse, and he thought, well, I'm here. I've done my work. That's it. It's over. Down tools. And in some respect, he was doing exactly the same in the National. But once he had that company again, he then picked up. So,
there are various horses that I remember. Desert Orchid was one of them. It's kind of like a big horse of, I'm going to say my youth, but we're not actually that different in age. So I won't say that. But I remember Desert Orchid very much. I wonder if there are horses that you have a particular, I don't know. I mean, you've ridden horses, you get to know them, you know their character. You must feel very affectionate towards some of them.
Yes, and I was very lucky to come along and to get the ride on Desert Orchid. Colin Brown, first of all, he retired. Then Simon Sherwood rode him in, I think, in 10 races, won 9 of them, fell the last time on him. And he then retired. And very luckily for me, thanks to David Nicholson as well, who retained me at the time, the trainer, he let me off. He said, if you get the ride on Desert Orchid, you can ride him. I'm not going to stop you. And yes, rode him for his last sort of 2 seasons. Amazing. 2 King Georges. Unfortunately fell his last run, which was also in the King George. He probably just lost that ability then, but you could not get a horse that could have tried more than he did. He put everything into it. They say horses don't know when they've won. He certainly knew. Again, very, very intelligent and tried competed probably harder than any horse I ever rode. Yeah. Amazing to be a part of it.
Well, careers ended for Desert Orchid, and yours ended. Was it 1999? I don't think you were quite expecting. I don't think you wanted it quite so soon, did you?
So yes, it came along. I had a neck injury in '98, spring '98, after a fall at Fontwell. put it right in the autumn that year, 98 into 99, and January 99, it went again. I had problem with C4, C5, and it affected the muscles down my right arm. I rode for about another 6 months, but I was I was minus quite a bit of strength, I say, in the right arm. So it left me no option. I went around the world trying to get sort of advice on how to put it right. That wasn't possible. I did have a neck operation 2003, and it's or 2004. And to be fair, I've never fully regained the strength in my right arm.
Do you still ride at all?
I sat on a horse with Millie about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Nice. Oh, lovely.
But no, not too often. We used to do at Wild Frontiers. We used to do riding holidays. Did one, probably the last one was in Georgia a couple of years ago, and I've led a couple of riding holidays for Ride Worldwide also. But it doesn't really bother me. I love running. There's plenty of trail races and 10Ks and everything around Madrid. There's a run nearly every weekend. So enjoy 2 feet as much, if not more than 4.
I'm delighted you found a wonderful place in Spain and the family are loving living there. But I do wish you a little bit closer, because I'd like you to return the favour I did for you in '99. I'd like you to teach me how to sit on a horse, because I'm going to Mongolia in September next year.
I'm very jealous.
Well, I'll extend the invite. You're always welcome to come, because I need somebody who can sit me on a horse alongside those majestic eagle hunters.
Yeah. One of your guests I see has been photographing it over.
Yes, Lynn has. Yeah.
And absolutely amazing. I would say I was very lucky. I had 3, maybe 4 years photographing something called the Mongol Derby, 2012 to about 16. And it involved horses galloping, riders taking various mounts a 1,000-mile course in Mongolia. Probably one of the most difficult photography jobs I've ever had, but kept me working.
Photographing horses is a tricky thing, because people are very... I think that there's definitely a form to photographing horses.
Yes, I think so. It's very, very important to get them. And also it's quite difficult with those Mongolian horses, we call them horses, but they're more the size of ponies, a lot of them. They have what we say quite a choppy stride, short stride, but you're trying to get the horse fully extending to make it appear its best. So you want its leading leg as far extended as you possibly can. So
it's the leading leg that you're always looking for on a horse.
So you would ideally, if they're galloping, you ideally want that leg extended to make it look as attractive as you possibly can. But I've seen judging Topoti. We've also had some wonderful photos of the eagle hunters over the last couple of years, and so I have to get some entries in when you come back.
Well, I'll be following in Lynn's footsteps there, because she's done rather well with awards in that particular category. Looking back, what do you wish the younger jockey you knew in terms of life after sport would have perhaps known? I mean, you've had an extraordinary career. You've done so many different things, as we've said, but there are retiring athletes that need to build second crafts. And now we're talking about footballers, American footballers, rugby players, jockeys. Is there some advice you would have for people in that?
Yes, I think you've always got a plan for that second career. There was something called JETS, Jockey's Employment Training Scheme, that I attended. It might have been when I was...
Yeah, JETS was who we were.
JETS might have pointed me in your direction at that time. But I think it is important to all sportsmen to look at those extra course, what they'd like to do to prepare for the future. And I think I should have possibly at the time, I would have said, go and do a master's in business or whatever. Would have been a lot better than just rushing into it. As it turned out, I didn't choose my business partners particularly well at the time. And at the same time, as it turned out, I was very lucky, and it led to other things.
Well, we have a question that I ask right at the end of every interview, and usually this question sort of lends itself more to the creative bent, really. It's a question where people answer in terms of their photography and what creativity means to them. So I'll be rather intrigued to see what you're going to do with that, actually, because I'm not quite sure where it's going to go. But we'll have a go. You'll either look at me very quizzically and think, what am I supposed to do with that, Neil?
Just walk out.
Or you just walk. I've never had one of those yet. No, don't be the first. Yeah. Don't be the first, please. What's your why? What is it that keeps you doing what you do?
What's my why? I think I'm going to go for our daughter, Millie, as it stands at the moment. So whether it's going out photographing, keeping active, running up a hill, as you say, around here, I don't know. My why is our daughter, Millie.
I call to the mountains sitting across the bay. Morning comes always steadier than yesterday. I take the stillness as a sign to write a song about things we've done and the things still to come. Flowers in the plenty, colouring in the view. Red sunburns late Sunday afternoon. Talking for hours about the places we have gone and things we've done and the things still to come. 'Cause it's high time, high time. Trees with orange leaves, they take me to a place. And be by your side, I would run all night and day. Tall pines and fall lines, I'm glad that we are home. And time with you, I will never outgrow. 'Cause it's high time, high time, high time, high time.
At Ziv Moran and High Time. We should take a last picture along the canal, our last sketchbook image. You've been very, very vocal today, pups. Very vocal. You're making up for all the weeks we haven't had you on the show. I can tell. Hold on a moment. I like this. These I like it when the branches. Now don't step on the notes this time, pups. I like it when the branches sort of they're just reaching down towards the water, and you can see the reflection in the canal itself. F4, 4/50th shutter speed. There's not a lot of clouds reflecting in the water, which is a shame. 160. I wonder actually if I could turn the picture upside down. Turn that frown upside down. Pups, you've just walked across the notes again. Really? Let me do that again, thinking this time that I might turn the picture upside down. So I want to get everything dead center so that upside down you can't tell what's the right way up. Sort of. What have you got, a stick? That's a good stick. Not quite stick of the day. Do you want me to throw it before I do all the final thoughts? Oh, or run off with it. One of the two. That's it for today. Yes, if you can't wait until next Friday and you'd like to walk a little further together, that's what the extra mile is all about. We're up to number 163. You go the extra mile for me, so I go the extra mile for you and make an extra episode. It's on our Patreon channel, which is where you can help support the show. If we didn't have patrons, this show would not be possible. It wouldn't. It would be a hobby that would be taking my eye off the ball of other things that I should be doing to do things important in adult fashion, like paying mortgages. So thank you to those who do show up and support the show in the way that you do. I really, really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart. This week on the Extra Mile, I am travelling back to Milan, yes, meeting up with Extra Miler Michael Tenbrink, who lives there, and finding out why he's become an American living in Italy full-time.
On this week's Extra Mile.
I never thought of myself as a photographer, but I've been writing my whole life. In fact, when I was in 5th grade, probably 10 years old, I won the Young Authors Contest in my school with a little book I wrote called Charcoal and His Band. It was about a stallion and his band of mares because I wanted to be a horse breeder when I grew up.
Obviously.
And so naturally I moved to Milan. Yeah, I have been a writer my whole life. I've been writing on Substack just for a few years. It wasn't really until 2022 that I thought, I want to take photography more seriously. I've always taken photos, going back even to my early teens, but it was always just a hobby. I never thought of it as anything more than a hobby.
So if you'd like to hear a bit more from the Photo Walk each week, head to the website and click Extra Mile. I say a bit more. There's all 5 reflections. You get, on Monday, reflections on this channel, but you get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday on the Extra Mile or the Extra Mile channel. So go to the website, photowalk.show, click the support the show button and you'll find out all about it. You'll find out all about it. You'll find how to be, anyway, you know what I mean. Just a few closing thoughts before the PS. My sincere thanks if you are or you're about to become an extra miler, having heard me chutter on about it. We'll keep building this wonderful community of kindness, which is what I hope, I think, I believe it is. In the photographic and walking world together, a safe place to share our thoughts about this thing that we love. Few mentions for those who smooth the voyage. My thanks to Neil Ford, who looks after IT. There is actually a link. That's a note to self. Make sure I put that on the show page today if you'd like Neil to help you with your IT. My thanks to Andrea Gilpin, who keeps a watchful eye over Instagram, as does Kelly Mitchell for Facebook, and Kelvin Brown, who's at the helm of the Flickr group, and to Michael Brennan, who compiles the music of this show onto a Spotify list. Write a postscript for the show. And today it's from Ansel Adams, who said, "When words become unclear, I shall focus with photographs. When images become inadequate, I shall be content with silence."
What's there to hold in the light of this moon? My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to hold. The space unravels when you let go.
The Photo Walk is a Loading Zone production.